Hi, Jim here. So I'm going to give an update on what's going this on this time of year. Why does that camera always look crooked? Is this ground moving? Tectonic plates are shifting all the time. Oh well. Uh, so um, this is the time of year where a large portion of people lose their bees. Um, it's uh, it's about getting on top of the varroa mite infection early, not letting it get out of hand. Uh, Once it gets to a certain point, there's no turning back. It's the hive is dead, and a hive can look perfectly healthy. It can look, oh, I don't need to do any treatment. That's a strong hive. Oh, look at all those. I got 6 stacks up there, and it's just all full of bees. And then all of a sudden, they start to notice there's a problem because there's thousands of dead girls and dying girls in the front of the hive. And that's only a small portion because a lot of them get flown away, right? Foragers will take out the dying and the dead and fly away with them. And you don't see that portion, which is the biggest portion, many times. All the times, it depends on what's going on in the hive. There could be what's called a natural die out. A hive will actually go, you know what? We ain't got enough food to get through the winter. There isn't enough food in here for all of us. Things are dwindling, and there may be like 40, 50 pounds of honey left, but they have instincts that they know they need to downsize before it gets to a critical point. And maybe up to 1/3 of the hive will actually sacrifice themselves. Just go out on the ground and die. I've seen it multiple times, 2 times within a winter, same hive, thousands, maybe 10,000. It was so many, and it did it twice, about a month and a half apart. So bees are pretty good. They got pretty good instincts about managing the resources um, in times of trouble, and they have the ability. They have the ability to project down the road. I know that sounds weird, don't it? I thought that's only humans. No, that's why animals migrate. It's getting dry around here. We need to migrate. So, and we got. It's going to take us a month to get that far. It's a long distance. We need to start moving now. Weather's going to get worse. So, bees have also genetic instincts for that kind of behavior. And so, even though their brain's only the size of a sesame seed, so or something smaller, and so, but it's well organized, just like human brains. Our brains are the, you know, you look at the blue whale and the size of its brain and our brain. Our brain's the size of a walnut in comparison, right? Or less. So yeah, and so it's important to get on it in July. Um, for you folks who have not really taken out that time to investigate your hive, or you don't have that control panel underneath where you can observe the mite drops, because mites have a life cycle just like bees. It's very similar. They get old, they drop off. And if you start seeing an increase, right, then that cycle is increasing and the count is increasing. So I started noticing that about July 21st. There was an increase. It went from like maybe 10, 20 to like 50, 60, like a day or two in a row, and I realized, okay, it's time to treat. So what I did is I designed this control panel in such a way that I can take these strips and it's called Monhawa, some Chinese thing, but it works really well. Now the recommendation is, there's a bee investigating my baited nuke. The recommendation is to take, on a healthy hive, take 4 of these strips and put them in between the frames. Well, I try to take that hive apart, double brood box. Boy, they came out and swarmed me and started stinging my bee suit before when I just barely cracked it. They came right out and attacked me. So and that box was full of honey. It weighed like about 150 pounds. It was going to be hard to manage and move around. So I had to come up with a plan B. And we always have lots of bees all the way to Z, man. We got lots, just got to figure, right? And so what I decided to do, now I know this is not recommended, right? Just because something's not recommended doesn't mean it won't work, right? And it might even work more efficiently according to what we want to do, right? The way we want to do things. So what I chose to do was to take these little strips, design and construct this control panel in such a way where the strips fit in between these rows here, underneath these things, so that they don't pop up, because I only have a narrow gap. So when those strips would pop up, I'd pull this out and the strips would stay in. So I had to design this to keep the strips flat so I can slide this in and out. And so the first time I did this process, around maybe the 21st of July last month, I put 4 strips in there, and the next day I had maybe 2,000 plus drops compared to like 50. So it was really effective. And so I cleaned all the mites off, put them in soapy water, and I put it back in. The next day there was about 1,000, and that went on for about a week, where I was getting about 1,000 a day drop. And so now today I pulled it out 24 hours later, and because this isn't I pull it out every 24 hours, see what's going on, right? Because this is such a critical time of the year for when bees get lost, hives die. So I stay on top of it. I learned my lesson the hard way. So today there was maybe like 20, right? So I've maybe pulled out in a total maybe 9,000 bromites in about a week's period, maybe a week and a half, maybe 10,000. And and now it's down to a very manageable level, and it's continuing to drop, I suspect. And so that's the lowest I've seen since middle of July. And so this method is being proven to be very effective. And at the same time, I made the decision when I decided to come up with this process. I actually did that with all the hives at the same day, the same afternoon. I designed all those. I have all of them have their own control panels and their own, they're all of them have an observational panel like that, designed like that, and they all have strips in them. But these 3 swarms that I caught in spring, their mites are extremely low, 1 or 2. It's really low, and so I suspect most of the mites that are in those hives are what they're bringing in from out in the environment, right? And they're managing them pretty well. And so when I pull their panels out, there's either 0 or maybe a couple. So I'm going to go with maybe they're just bringing them in there, and they got groomed off, and right. But if I start seeing like 10, 20, then I know that they're likely infected, and I'll give them fresh strips. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the old strips, the ones that I think the smell has gone dramatically down to pretty much 0, and I'm taking those old ones and I'm putting them in the other ones, right, where there's hardly no mites, right, just to get a little fumigation in there to kind of keep those mites gone. And so what I'm doing also is I'll take out one of the strips that I think that is, it's been in there for 2 weeks. So I'll take out one and I'll put a fresh one, just one, in with the other 4, right? And I'll put it back into the hive that's still infected to keep that freshness, pesticide in there going, to keep the drops happening. And it seems to have worked really well. At one point, I was convinced I was going to lose this hive, both of these hives, because they were both fairly equally infected. And by using this method, they're down really low. compared to 2,000 a day. So it works. Um, Now I know that people would say, "Don't do that, don't do that." But just because something's recommended doesn't mean that's the only way to go about it. There's more than one way to skin a cat. But who in the hell would want to skin a cat anyway? What a dumb saying. It's like some primitive moron, barbarian, right? Humans are becoming more ethical over time, right? As time goes on. Um, yeah, the cruelness of humanity is being evolved out, right? And human beings over time are becoming more empathetic towards each other and life in general. That's a good thing. Policy. Oh, there's something going on with my phone. I have no idea what it is. Public safety message. EPD asking for assistance with missing endangered West Eugene woman. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, some missing woman. I guess I'll keep my eyes open for a missing woman. No missing woman here so far. And so that's kind of the story that I wanted to mention today, is how to manage these varroa mites in a different way, right? A way that um, is proven to be effective for me. Um, the years that I did not manage the hives like this or in some way, I lost every single one of those hives to varroa mite infections, right? Well before winter. It was like still fall, and so I had four of them. All four of them died out from varroa mite infections, because I was let nature take care of it. Nature knows how to deal with those things. No, beekeeper, right? I was hoping that maybe I had one of the beehives that were groomers, because I knew about groomers. You can get a hive they're really good at grooming each other and keeping the mites gone. No, all four of them were not groomers. Stay away from me. Don't groom me. Wait, don't touch me. Like siblings, What? Don't look at me like that. Right? So, yeah, and so all five of these hives are doing really well. I stopped feeding a while back, and I stopped feeding the one that was the Frankenstein hive. I had to slowly adjust that hive from Frankenstein mode to natural. And just in the last 5 days, 6 days, I've noticed that there's no more hundreds of dying girls or bees being forced out because there's not enough resources. So I've slowly converted by intermittently feeding them to break them from the bottle. I had to break them from, it's like breaking them from a bottle. Uh, Feed them for a couple of days and then take it away for like 5 days, or until I started seeing a bunch of dying, they're dying off again, they're killing each other again. Then I'd feed them again, let them eat that one bottle, and then I'd notice that I'll stop again, after a day or two, the killing would stop. Oh, I got enough resources. Then it'd run out, and then after 3, 4, 5 days, they'd start killing each other. So I kept doing that, and this is the longest I've been able to go without seeing a bunch of dead girls or dying girls or girls being brought out, or them killing each other, thinning the herd. This is the first. So by engaging in the process that I came up with on that particular Frankenstein hive, it's no longer a Frankenstein hive. It's now functioning normal like all the other hives. I had to wean it off the bottle. I didn't know bees would behave like that. I didn't know you could do that, right? I kind of like learning certain things on my own. I'm sure there's a lot of information out there that say don't do this, do this. But I like to experiment um, certain things on my own so that I can witness it and interact with that what I'm observing in a way that makes sense to me. And that's how discoveries are made, right? Not from following somebody's bouncing ball, but by experimenting on their own independently or in a group, and looking at it from a different angle, a different perspective. Right or wrong doesn't matter. What matters is the experiment. What matters is the attempt to discover on our own and learn on our own as much as we can, so we can come up with our own thoughts of what we're experimenting and witnessing and seeing, right? Observing and all that. And that's what I prefer to do in life and everything. But there's certain things, you go, boy, I'm sure glad I watched that. I'm sure, I'm sure glad I know that now, because if I would have not known that, I would have done that, and I don't think I would have made it. It would have been the final day ever, worse than worse, final day. So there's certain things, but not many. If there's something that's life-threatening or injury-threatening, yeah, I like to know ahead of time if I can find out certain things. But yeah, so I was picking peaches yesterday or the day before, and had this pole. I was picking them, and bee came out of there. She got me right there. A couple of days before that, I got stung 5 times. I was fiddling around with these strips because I put strips on a little piece of wood, in those mite strips, so that they walk over it all day, in and out, right? And so you get those mites, irritate those mites as they're coming in. So all of them have these little mite strips on pieces of wood right in the entry, so they have to walk on these strips in and out to get in and out. That's right. And they carry that all in through the hive, and I don't know. I just wanted to give those strips that system that I came up with the strips. I wanted to give it like, an extra boost, right, of what I was trying to achieve, which was 0 mite count this time of year because it's so critical. So anyway, I was adjusting one of those strips in front of an entryway on this beehive here, and when I pulled it out, because I was going to replace them. I was going to put new ones in that day on all of these. And I was pulling out, and I let it set, and I pulled them all out. I went back to one to get to that one, and there's still a bunch of bees hanging out on it. I went, what? And I tapped it to get them all off. Woof! They came right at me and attacked me, chased me into my patio, stinging me all over the place. There was several of them after I got them all off me. The ones that stung me actually stung me. She doesn't know what to do. And I was into the garage, and I was getting ready to go in the house, and I turned around, and I noticed there were several bees flying in and out of the garage. They were looking for me. Looking. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? He's around here somewhere. Right? They were going in and out of the garage looking for me. Right? And so I walked towards this table that I had, and they go, oh, there he is, and they attacked me. I went, what the heck? So I kind of shoot him away, and I walked back up to my garage door, getting ready to go in the house. I looked back, and I said, I'll be doggone, they're looking for me, man. Look at that. And then one flew right up into my face and stung me right there. Immediately. Didn't even see her coming until she hit me in the face and stung me. And what was really cool is I experienced no reaction, no swelling, no irritation, except for one on my shoulder. I think I scratched it in my sleep. And the next day I noticed a little tiny bump, but it only scratched like for a few moments, and then it was gone. Then it was over. That was the most mildest response I had, especially that many bee stings, right? My face, it was as if I never got stung. It hurt for like, it stung for like probably 5 hours. But next day it was gone. There's no sign of it. No itching, no nothing. As if it never happened. So, but just because we experienced that situation, where we have no response, no anaphylactic response, no itching, no swelling, no irritation, no nothing, and there's no sign of anything, as if it never happened, it doesn't mean next time that we won't go into anaphylactic shock. That's just because the immune system is a variable thing. It reacts to different things for different reasons, but every 24 hours it can be different. We can have a very strong immune system one day, or nicely balanced, immune system one day, maybe because something we ate or some stress or not enough sleep, and the next day it's not going to respond as well to something that it would have responded fantastically the day before. And so we can get stung another time, right, and go into anaphylactic shock. So what I do is I keep a box of double EpiPens in my house, so because I never know. I've had 2 anaphylactic responses, so you just never know. So if someone's going to have beehives, it's a good idea to have a box of EpiPens and just keep them on hand. I know they're expensive. They go up to like $700 for one box. So it's a kit of 2, right? So you do one in 5 minutes. If you don't feel that pressure in your chest reducing, you don't sense that, you're still like, I'm still struggling a little bit to breathe, and you pop another one. it's a double kit, right? Oh, if that, oh, it's not enough. Okay, then you give yourself another one. Up to $700 for those things, man, for one box. Well, I found that out because I don't pay for it. I'm a vet, so I get all that stuff for free, and so in fact, my doctor is the one that my vet doctor, my vet, my veterinarian, woof, my VA doctor saw that I had when I went in for a herniated disc. He saw that I had been to the doctor. He goes, what were you in the doctor for, hospital for that thing? Or I went to the hospital, actually, emergency room, anaphylactic response. Oh, I had an anaphylactic response to from a bee sting. I got beehives. And oh, as a she actually. She goes, "You want a box of EpiPens?" I says, "Yes, please." And she walks away, comes back with a box of EpiPens. Right? There's only 2 per box. It's a kit, right? You don't take both of them unless you feel you need to, right? If you take it one and you know, within that 5-minute period you start to feel a change where you're improving, you don't need to take the next one usually. You save the next one in case, you know, you get a reoccurrence, because it's possible that an hour later you can get a reoccurrence, right? So save that second one till you need it, right? And so anyway, that was my experience a few days. I guess it's been almost a week now since that was 5 or 6 bee stings. I lost track actually. It could have been more. They're all over me. I feel a sting and brush it, feel a sting, brush it, feel a sting, brush it. I was like this. You know, they were stinging me in my back, and yeah, it's hard to say how many bee stings I got. Don't know. I didn't count. Didn't really care. I was just waiting for an anaphylactic response. Am I going to die here or what? Everything was perfectly fine. It was amazing, actually. No response, really. So there you go. And so, yeah, really important. Please subscribe, thumbs up, ring the bell, leave a comment, click the like. Right? So, I wish YouTube would change that. But oh well, it is what it is. CNN, Fox News, all the other news channels, they say the same thing. So every time I'm done watching a specific topic, you know, CBS, ABC, and then they go, please subscribe, click the like. Oh, shoot, man. So, yeah. So I recommend folks to get that observational panel system set up. You know, you get that 1/8 inch hardware cloth, and you build that structure so that you can slide your observational panel underneath that. Of course, you put your hive right on top of that thing, and you got yourself a good setup. You can always know what's going on. So if you say you add frames to something, or there's so many things I get to observe. Whether you got a infestation of ants or earwigs or spiders or hive beetles or just anything, right? Varroa mites. You can also tell. I can also tell when they're eating. So they're eating their honey during the winter. I say, oh, they're right here, and then oh, they're right here, and I can tell when they're getting to the end of their storage. Their pantry is about to run out. Then I can go, oh, well, geez, they've eaten all their honey. They're on the last shelf, and I can do some open feeding for them in the winter instead of having them come to me in the garage by the thousands, encircling me and tapping, feed me, feed me. That was so weird, man. So many bees they weren't stinging me at all. They weren't acting aggressive. They were just bouncing and hitting me and tapping me and circling me in my garage, and not heavy, but just hitting me, bouncing off my face, my body, tapping, no stinging, no aggressive. They're telling me they're starving. It took me 4 days to get that, so I got that epiphany. I fed them, and all that stopped within minutes. They must have smelled the sugar in the air, because they can pick up 1 part per billion. And they all left my garage. No more bouncing. Bounce, bounce. Right? And there is wasps all over the ground. and there are wasps and bumblebees and other marauders from other hives constantly trying to get into all these hives. So all my bees, all these hives are on high alert, which is why I got stung. They were that hive that came at me that day were so intense. They were so tense from constantly being attacked by the wasps, other marauders, even bumblebees. I've watched bumblebees just for the short time I was sitting here. I watched bumblebee trying to get in that entryway with all of its might, and my bees were constantly attacking that bumblebee, right? And bumblebee's quite a bit bigger than the bees, but my bees went after that bumblebee, and it got right into the entrance, and then my bees got it, and it bounced off and tried to get back in, and yeah, so my bees are under constant attack. And so when I was over there fiddling with that, and I tapped that, and they, oh, you're just another pest, and they came and got me. I don't care who you are, whether you're the master of the apiary, I don't care. I don't care if you're a king, even a queen. Okay, fine. So, and so yeah, man, that was crazy. And yeah, everything is kosher. Um, and so there's no dying bees out in front. This time of year, this time of year, the other beehives that I had, um, the ones that I bought, there was thousands of girls sick and dying out in front this time of year, right? It started slow, and as the days went by, I noticed more and more and more dead and dying and sick and bees with no wings, and yeah, and there's none of that. Every single hive is clean. I keep the brush and the leaves and the branches of fallen things, and I keep this brushed out so I can monitor that, so I can see when one of my hives are in trouble, so I can take countermeasures early instead of waiting until it's too late, which is what I've done in the past, right? Waited too long. And so both these hives that were dropping thousands of mites every day, that's not the case. In fact, this second one here, I checked it just a little while ago, and I think there was only like about 8 when there was like 1,000, last, a week or two ago, about a week ago. And so it's all cleaned up, I think. And there was before I started to, actually about 5 days after I started doing this strip process, about 5 days after I started, maybe a week, I started noticing a good amount of girls coming out looking sick. So what I think happened is I got it right at the edge, like right before it reached that tipping point of imminent death. I waited. So I really should have probably started this process probably the first week of July and not waited until, the 21st of July. I should have hit it probably 2.5 weeks earlier, because when the queen starts laying those drones in early spring, that's when you naturally get an explosion of mice. And what I did at that point is I put in what's called an apiguard, and the bees actually ended up killing most of the drones. They brought them out. They were pulling them out of the cells. They were just white drones, haven't hatched yet. But the apiguard was killing the varroa mites inside the cells, and my bees were detecting that, and they were bringing out the mites and the drones by the thousands. So that reduced, by me doing that, that reduced the amount of mites down the road into July. Otherwise, I would likely have been started treating maybe in mid-June. So I was able to, start. So I was able to actually put that treatment off for a month by putting in the apiguard in there in the middle of April. And so, but just that one hive. I didn't do that with the other hives. Just the apiguard was just in that one because I just suspected she was laying so many drones, and she was. But there was still plenty of drones later on after the apiguard wore off and all that. There were still drones that hatched out by the thousands, right? I just reduced the quantity and the infection amount, long-term infection amount, probably by half or more. That's all. So it made the hive actually stronger over time. And so the queen that's in there, in my original box, or of my original hive, she's actually a new queen. I did a split, and they were without a queen, so they did an emergency queen cell. So I was able to manage to keep a couple-day-old larvae in there when I did the split, and they went into, within 24 hours, they went into emergency queen cell mode, and they made a queen, and within about 6 weeks or so, she hatched out. Well, a couple weeks, but anyway, in 6 weeks, she was laying eggs. Not only was she laying eggs, but in 6 weeks there was drones coming in. I mean drones. There was I'll get it. There was orientation flights. So she flew out at about 16 days later after I did the split. She went and she got mated. So that was probably 20 days. So with about 20 days of them going into emergency queen cell mode, about 20, 21 days, she was laying eggs, and about 3 weeks later, they were hatching out, and then I started seeing orientation flights. There, that's how that went. Which was about 6 to 8 weeks when I started seeing regular orientation flights, and that's when I knew for sure there was a queen. Right? Oh, they made a queen, and so the split that I did over here, from that, there was orientation flights about every 3 weeks after I did split. So I knew that she was. So I knew that I was able to get the original queen. So I haven't. So out of all these hives, out of 5 hives, I know I got at least one new queen, and I have no idea how old these other 4 queens are. I could have a queen right now that's 5 years old. I don't know, right? So, but at least I feel confident that I got at least one young girl. I got one that's only months old, right? Whereas the other ones, I don't know. And they can die in the middle of winter. They can die at any moment, and that hive will die out. And I can't do a split. You know, there's no drones this time of year. They've eliminated all the drones out of the hives. If they were to do a emergency queen cell, there's no drones for that queen to mate with, so it wouldn't happen. She would just stay out there and die, or come back starving and get fed. But if she did come back and start laying, all she would lay would be drones anyway. She has to get fertilized ordinarily to lay any female bees. So there you go. At least I got one young queen. So what's going to happen is, likely what I'll do is I will make 1 or 2 splits from the swarms that I caught last year, so that I can end up with hopefully 3 young queens. So I can have 3 young. Because what I like to do is have at least a couple new queens, a few month-old queens, get those every year, so I know that I'm not all of a sudden not going to be, down to maybe 0 hives. They all died of old age, stopped laying. They try to do emergency. There's no drones. Then you can end up with no hives, going through the winter. You have to wait until swarming season and catch some more. So. There's wasps all over the place. What the wasps are doing is they're picking up the dead. Not all. They're not picking up all of them. They're picking up ones that have resources still in their body, and they're dismantling the bees that are dead and dying, and taking them back to their nest and use them as protein. Yeah, the wasps are all over. Well, they're kind of help keeping the ground clean too. And the wasps are also in this watering hole. Well, so are the bees. And I noticed that the wasps are going to these peaches that are dropping everywhere. When they splatter a little bit, the wasps are in there getting the sugars. I don't see any bees in it, which I thought was surprising. I thought for sure that the bees would be going into the peaches and getting the sugars in there, but I don't see the bees, just the wasps. They're right in there getting all the sugar. And so, all right, so I'm not feeding this time of year. So come probably late fall, I'm going to be giving them 2 to 1 sugar syrup. just so they can, that's a fly, just so they can cap off their pantry. And because this is the dearth time of year when there's not many flowers. No, I don't see any flowers at all. Now I do have some raspberries; they're flowering, but that's not a lot of raspberries. There's for as many bees here, that's not much for them to eat. So even right now, what they could be relying on right now mostly is what they have stored. Now there's going to be some fall flowering. Um, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be starting to flower here pretty soon, including these flowers I have here that are going to start blossoming soon. So they're going to get some fall flowering. Some peaches slanted in the water. Yeah, the peaches. There's so many. They're breaking big branches, and so yeah, we need to monitor because not if we have bees and there's not anything for them to eat, they can actually abscond. They're going. We're in an area that there just ain't nothing here year after year, and they can leave, right? And there's just not enough resources for them. So what I've done is I've planted all kinds of different flowers and that I know that they go to and they like, and I've got them growing all over the place. And what I've done is I've also planted the kind of flowers that stagger throughout the season. Like here they flower this kind of flower flowers this time of spring, and this one in midsummer, and this one in fall. So I've got a bunch of flowers here that are fall bloomers that are getting ready to open, and they'll clean those out of pollen and nectar. And then if we're going to have bees, it's important to kind of think like that, really. Um, get the kind of flowers that are stagger throughout the seasons, so that they can have some protein, natural protein, and nectar throughout the spring, summer, and fall. And that was my plan anyway, and it seems to be working all right. All 5 hives are doing okay. I really didn't think they were going to do this well, knowing that the resources at certain times are limited. My instinct was that I might have to end up feeding them or something. But at the same time, I'm also thinking that it might be a good idea to not feed them, because by not feeding them, they will tell the queen to stop laying eggs because there's low on resources. So she'll take what's called a brood break. The mites will have nowhere to lay eggs, and that'll be a natural mite reduction process, right? By letting them go at least a little hungry and telling the queen to stop laying to take that brood break, for a week or 2 or 3, preferably 3. And that'll also stabilize the hive, so whatever resources they have stored, that might be enough to get them through the winter. But if they go into fall as a big hive, more mouths to feed, more resources, they're going to run out sooner. Which is why my bees came and got me on the 1st of January this year, was because they ran out because that hive was too big throughout the winter. The queen laid too many bees, and and there wasn't enough honey. Even though I left them with about 100 pounds of honey, that wasn't enough. And they ate it all up. By January 1st, it was gone. And they came and let me know. Oh, there's a wasp that went and got a bee, and it was sitting there trying to gather its senses on the stick, taking one of my bees. Now, I have seen these wasps go right up. I had bees just kind of moving around, enjoying the outside doors, And I've seen these long wasps with those long legs come right down like a pterodactyl. Just grabbed one of my bees, healthy as could be. That bee was just perfectly healthy, and grabbed that girl and just took off with it, like a pterodactyl. Well, modern times you'd say a hawk or something, right? Or an eagle, and off it went. So they'll do that, right? Take healthy bees right off the landing board, right by the entryway. Those big ones. The small ones won't do that. Small wasps. There's different breeds here. I've got like about 5, 6, maybe 7 different breeds of different kind of wasps that are being pests around here towards my bees. And there's not just one breed of wasps. In fact, the smallest flying insect is a wasp. Pretty sure that's what I remember. It's almost the size of a single cell. They're really tiny, but it's a wasp. Really tiny. The smallest flying is smaller than a gnat. Anyway, so that's kind of my day, and I guess I'll go pick some more peaches, process them down, put them in the freezer. All right, please subscribe, thumbs up, ring the bell, leave a comment, and you have a good day now. Yeah. Bye now.